This next lesson deals with what I call an Indian blanket design. I didn't invent this. Back in the early 90s, after studying some of Ray Allen's work, I more or less figured out how he had assembled some of his Indian blanket rings. And it's now one of my favorites. What am I talking about? I'm talking about designs like this. Designs that have lots of little pieces very precisely aligned. It looks incredibly difficult, almost impossible to assemble all those little pieces so precisely. There's a trick to it, which you'll soon discover as you watch this lesson. Bubby and I have chosen Purple Heart and a Colombian wood called Coleto. I've milled these boards about 1.5 inches wide, about 7/8 of an inch thick. I'm cutting a series of polygons at 30-degree angles, 24 of each of these. I could just as easily cut these at 45 degrees or 25 degrees. I just chose 30. The lengths are also my decision. The Coleto pieces are smaller, sort of a triangle with one blunt point, and the Purple Heart pieces are much longer. Using the same saw blade setting, I'm cutting little short 1/4 inch long pieces, 48 of each color. I've now adjusted my saw angle to 90 degrees, cutting 4 of the Purple Heart pieces into half pieces, which will go on the ends of these assemblies. Here's all my pieces in the order in which I'll glue them together into long strips. I'm going to use a 2-piece gluing tray. I've put a dust trap on that one edge. A little glue and some clamps creates a tray that will allow me to glue these pieces very accurately. The use of wax paper allows me to remove the assembly very easily after it's been glued. In this dry fit, notice the intentional gap between the Coleto piece and the back of the gluing tray. There are 6 seams here in each step. That's 12 surfaces that need to be buttered. The key is the resistance of the clamp on the right. In this view, it's the clamp on the left. Now notice as I squeeze in that Coleto piece and close that gap, the piece on the left is being forced away, but the resistance creates the clamping pressure. Here's the last Coleto piece being clamped in place in this particular assembly. I had to make a total of 4 of these for this project. Now these are fairly fragile. It's all ingrain to ingrain glue joints. That's why the wax paper comes in so handy. Next, I'll hit these with some 80 grit just to knock off the excessive squeeze out. Now, because they're fragile, I'm going to put them on a tray one at a time to put them through the planer. But if you have a drum sander, that's an even better way to prepare these. Now, as I said, my strips are about 1.5 inches wide. I'd like to harvest 4 thin strips out of these. As you can see from this simple little sketch, 4 layers at 1/4 inch each plus 3 kerfs totals up to less than 1.5 inches. I should be okay. With the sanded edge against my fence, I'm just taking a smidgen of material off. My goal is to get those 4 opposite edges all to look identical. Instead of conventional rip cuts, I'm going to tape this to a piece of MDF. I'll get a cleaner cut this way. Now it takes more time. Each piece has to be individually taped on. But the effort is worth it. Using a sharp rip blade and consistent speed, I can get a surface that's good enough to glue. Purple Heart can be very finicky. Here's a burn spot. Without a drum sander, I'd probably have to live with that. But by keeping everything oriented in the same positions, I can improve my glue surfaces just a little bit more. Here are my strips as they came out of the original glue up. By flipping each individual strip, the pattern magically appears. Another gluing tray is necessary to put these together accurately. I've secured a pointed stop at one end, and I've covered the tray with plastic tape and put spacers so that glue squeeze out can escape on the underside. Compressed air is an effective tool to clean the surfaces. Notice I've added a solid piece of Purple Heart. That'll become the border outside the pattern. Unlike most glue laminations, perfect alignment of the ends of all these sticks is absolutely critical. Those ends have to be dead on. Keep looking at those ends, feel it with your fingers. I'm using that stop very effectively, but I have to keep watching that to make sure nothing slips. If one strip slips out of alignment, then the pattern is altered all the way down the line. After a night of glue curing, preparing these strips for the next step is pretty simple. A pass over the joiner, through the planer, or if you've got a drum sander, that's an even easier way to do it. By establishing a center point, putting a mark, lining that mark on my saw bed kerf, and then putting a reference mark to the side, I can quickly line these up on that reference mark, cut them into individual pieces. One more glue job and we'll have the completed pattern. The disc sander really is the segmenter's best friend. If all the previous steps were done accurately, then these two halves should match up perfectly. Be sure to match the other side. Both sides need to match, and the use of magnification is invaluable. During this glue job, you only get one chance to get it right. Take your time and really study the intersection of those points. Try to get them as accurately as possible. Once again, the disc sander comes in handy for creating clean surfaces. To ensure that my surfaces are parallel, I'm going to make one pass through the drum sander. This is probably not absolutely necessary, but it does improve my chances of creating accurate miters. Now it's time to inspect the surfaces, select the best one for the outside of the vessel. And now it's back to the disc sander. I want to get rid of any imperfection and mark all these so I keep them oriented the same direction. With the marked edges against the fence, I now have identical sizes. After making some test cuts, I've got my miter saw set at a perfect 18 degrees. Before cutting miters on the ends of these, I need a reference point, a place to line them up. With this line on my segment and the pencil mark on my saw bed, I can put a consistently located miter on each end. My saw blade surfaces look very good. It's not going to be worth the trouble to try to sand them. To cut miters on the other ends requires establishing a stop block in the right position so that you're removing the same amount of material. You can kind of sneak up on this. Cut it a little long and adjust until you get it just right. Once the stop block is in the right location, it's a pretty simple matter of making the cuts. I have 12 completed pieces. I only need 10. Here's a reject. I'm doing a dry fit, and I'm doing a very close inspection of all the seams. These have to be perfect. I'm going to glue this in one step. That will ensure that it stays perfectly round. In between my designs, I'm going to insert these little short pieces of Coletto. These parallel pieces of wood should have no effect on the accuracy of the miter joints. I'm showing you the ring glue job in fast motion. The actual time to put this together was probably about 5 minutes. You have to work both quickly and accurately. You only get one chance to get it right. All surfaces get covered with glue and everything gets very precisely aligned. I'm going to use 2 hose clamps because it's a tall ring. These hose clamps are actually multiple hose clamps linked together. As you tighten them, try to stay even. Don't over tighten one side and while keeping the other side loose. And don't over tighten the top clamp before the bottom clamp's been tightened. Try to keep things even. Even though you're working quickly, you really have to take the time to constantly inspect every seam. Also, I'm doing this on a piece of flat MDF. I want to keep the ring as flat as possible. The technique for building these Indian blanket designs is pretty clever. It's one of my favorites. I mean, if you think about it, here's a segment with 58 pieces of wood in it. But because of the technique, I didn't have to deal with 58 individual pieces of wood, and you won't either. So, file this away, enjoy doing a ring like this. It's a lot of fun, a lot of satisfaction, and a lot of wow factor when your friends look at your vessel and try to figure out, how did you do that? How did you get all those little pieces so precisely aligned?